Hi, this is Mike Alexander, Director of the Professional MBA program at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. Hey, a few words about Percept research and some of the studies that we do with them. I've been using the entry, midterm, and exit for every cohort since the beginning of our Professional MBA program. We started that program in the fall of 2012, so getting close to a decade of running entry, midterm, and exit every year. The result has been that we have consistent data across a cohort, all three of those surveys, consistent data across multiple cohorts over almost a decade, and it allows us to do three things. There's three things that the output of the process allows us. One, we review the data immediately to see what's important, what we're doing well, what we might need to change in terms of student expectations, or actual changes to delivery or programs, actual changes. So an immediate review gives us insight into where is this group, what do they think is important, what might we need to do for them or help them understand better. We can also watch a cohort over time. So the second thing we do with the data is we watch a cohort over time, and we compare those cohorts to previous cohorts to see what might be changing in terms of that cohort's expectations or our performance to that cohort. So we look at a cohort over time. So we look at the individual moment in time, the cohort over time, and then bigger picture, obviously we can watch all of our cohorts and all of our students over time. And really we're also watching ourselves over time to see where we're excelling relative to market, maybe for the purpose of positioning and promotion. And what are we consistently showing up as? Yeah. So it helps us understand that. And of course, it helps us understand student expectations and our performance over time. There's some additional benefits that I see of using Percept. And again, three of those, and these are more operational. So those three were about the outcomes, how we use the data, but then some benefits to Percept and our use of them. First is the distribution process and the collaboration between us and them, our staff and their staff. We drive some really great response rates, much higher response rates with the Percept processes and the partnership we have than with typical surveys. With very few exceptions, these are our consistently highest response rates. Another wonderful benefit is that the Percept survey data is consistent. Over time, the data is consistent. When a question comes up, we're sitting in a meeting asking the question, I can dig into the data, or I can dig into the data to see what questions ought to come up, but it's the same questions year in, year out, provides beautiful longitudinal data, and can even let me see down into people's, staff members' performance. I can actually see that showing up in the data with some careful analysis. And then the last benefit is the analysis that Percept conducts. So they not only tell us how we rate on a number of components of our program, or how our students tell us that we rate, and allow us to compare that to a peer set and industry average. But a key thing they do in their analysis is they tell us our performance relative to the importance of a dimension. So not just how are we doing, but how are we doing relative to how important that dimension is to the students. So that comparison allows us to, for example, if we performed poorly or we underperformed on some dimension of the program and it shows up as important to the students, well, we're going to give that attention. We might give that more attention or faster attention than if we perform relatively lower on something very unimportant to the students. Maybe that gets a little bit more back burner to us, but that insight via their analysis allows us to prioritize our responses, not only respond appropriately, manage expectations, make changes over time, make changes acutely, but it allows us to think longer term, bigger picture relative to student importance. So that's some of the reasons that we and I enjoy working with Percept. Gig 'em.